Well, I am Team Ron DeSantis here on this. Did you see what the Florida governor threw up on social media last night? He was talking about something that we brought up yesterday morning right here on this show. And it was the possibility of a venue change when it comes to Maduro, who right now, of course, is in New York City. He appeared in court yesterday, the former president or dictator of Venezuela. And Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, putting up that he believes the odds of a jury letting Maduro walk will be very different if and when Maduro faces state charges in Miami. How quickly can we get that done? Because all I'm seeing, I saw a Washington Post story yesterday. By the way, happy Tuesday. Thanks for starting off your morning with us on KCMO. I saw a Washington Post story yesterday that said 42% of Americans oppose the actions of Donald Trump in Venezuela. Well, that's because 42% of Americans could find out tomorrow that Donald Trump cured cancer, and they'd be like, bring back cancer, bring back cancer, bring back cancer. That's what they would do. That's the world we live in. So it doesn't shock me that the Washington Post has a poll out there that shows 42% of Americans disapprove of the military capture of Maduro, because it doesn't matter what Trump does. And it's right around that number. It's somewhere between 40 and probably 43, 44% of Americans who just hate everything the guy does. They're mad at the fact that he wakes up and actually has air to breathe. I mean that figuratively and literally. So that doesn't bother me, but what does bother me is that, first off, I heard this morning on the Fox News Rundown here at 5 o'clock on KCMO that they were saying in New York, Maduro may not actually have a trial until early 2028, potentially late 2027 if things go well. I know the legal system is slow, but man, you're telling me you can't expedite something like this in New York? How quickly can we get this guy down to Florida? Now, yesterday here on the show, we talked to Greg Jarrett, Fox News legal analyst. He's been all over the Fox News channel the last couple of days talking about this Maduro case. And I asked him that very question. Is it possible there could be a venue change in the Maduro case to get him out of New York where, let's be honest, you're going to cobble together a jury, you're going to have prosecutors, you're going to have judges who all just are so triggered by their TDS that, yeah, they might go soft on Maduro. I mean, don't put it past them. Please don't do it. Here's what Greg Jarrett said yesterday right here on KCMO.
Well, I assure you there are discussions going on in the Department of Justice as to whether or not this case should be transferred outside of New York because of its hostile panel of judges that are there. I think the judge, I haven't looked into it, but I saw a few minutes ago that an anti-Trump judge has been assigned the case. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, look, Noriega was tried down in Florida, and that certainly is a better, more advantageous venue. And the DOJ could attempt to transfer it down to Florida, which has vast experience in trying drug trafficking cases. So I think that's probably on the table. It's something that the DOJ is thinking about. When the investigation first began in Maduro, it emanated in the Southern District of New York Federal Court, and it's been there ever since. And this investigation, the gathering of evidence, all the money laundering, the shell companies where Maduro and his cronies have been hiding the money, that started in New York, and it's been going on for a decade, that investigation. And, they've had a lot of experts who've been following the money trail for years. And simply because it started in the Southern District doesn't mean that the venue can't be changed.
There you go. That was Greg Jarrett yesterday right here on KCMO Talk Radio. So Greg Jarrett coming out and saying, hey, it's entirely possible that this venue does get changed. And after what I heard this morning, last hour here on the Fox News Rundown, where they had their legal guys say, yeah, it could be 2 years from now. Whatever you can do to expedite this process, please just get it done for all of our sakes. Because you still have people like Emmanuel Cleaver. I mean, he just won't give it up. Cleaver's been on a little tweet storm here the last couple of days, the Kansas City congressman begging on the Maduro arrest. He's got this post from yesterday afternoon saying to end 2025, Congress voted on a war powers resolution to prevent the president from using military action against Venezuela, risking another regime change quagmire. Unfortunately, 99% of Republicans voted to kill the effort. Congress cannot allow him to drag us into more unnecessary conflicts. That is fear-mongering from Emmanuel Cleaver.
You mustard moo.
That's all it is. To be very clear, that is fear-mongering from Emmanuel Cleaver. He shared a post from ABC News saying President Trump has not ruled out sending troops into Venezuela and has implied Colombia, Cuba, and Greenland could also face U.S. action soon. And you know why he's doing that? Because he wants to keep everybody on their toes. Trump's been doing this for 10 years. You guys act like this has all just come up out of thin air out of nowhere the last few days. Trump he says I might do this. You never know. I might do that. Well, you better watch out. That's what he does. And oftentimes it's strategic. Sometimes he's just spouting off and, saying whatever's on his mind. But his actions are rarely as uncalculated as his words. We know that Trump's tongue is what gets him in trouble. Not really his actions. His actions are damn good, by and large. Not that I agree with every single thing, but his actions far superior to his words. And now you get ABC News out there saying, he hasn't ruled out sending troops. And Cleaver's like, oh, boy, we got to stop this, John. Emmanuel Cleaver's all bent out of shape.
The political vernacular never applies to Trump. They all panic. If he were a Democrat, they'd say he floated a balloon. Yeah. He floated that idea out there. Floated it.
He did. That's right. That's
Trump
how they would frame
float
it.
Anything, right?
No. Not in their eyes, at least. They just want to pop that balloon. That's all they want to do. You're right about that. 913-408-7957. It's how you join us on KCMO. Now, did you see this story? A mystery trader made $400,000 betting on Maduro's downfall. Less than 5 hours before the nighttime explosions rocked the Venezuelan capital of Caracas, an unknown trader doubled down on bets that Nicolas Maduro would soon be out as the country's leader. The wagers on Polymarket, a popular crypto-based betting platform, netted the trader more than $400,000, a 12-fold return on the investment, and fueled suspicions that someone used inside knowledge of the closely held U.S. operation to make a quick profit. Insider trading is illegal in the stock market, and regulators routinely monitor suspicious trades ahead of big corporate news so they can prosecute insiders who attempt to enrich themselves using non-public information. This is from the Wall Street Journal. There are fewer safeguards in place to prevent people from exploiting their insider knowledge on Polymarket. Polymarket is a website that allows users to bet on a variety of future events, ranging from President Trump's political appointments to this year's World Cup, to which characters would die in the recent season of Stranger Things. You can bet on all that stuff at Polymarket. I hope you're not, Mark, let's just stick to FanDuel around here, okay?
Yeah, I'm sticking to FanDuel for sure.
Let's stick to FanDuel. We've got good friends on the up and up at FanDuel. They're great partners here with this radio station at KCMO Talk Radio. Let's not dabble in Polymarket.
Yeah, they don't have Maduro bets on FanDuel.
No. And you know what? They shouldn't have Maduro bets on FanDuel, because the only way that you would have made any money on something like this is if you were doing what? You were basically insider trading. That's what this is. The anonymous user created an account last month and placed an initial bet on December 27th, buying $96 worth of contracts that would pay off if the U.S. invaded Venezuela by January 31st. The person ramped up bets over the next week, sticking to a handful of similar contracts as tensions mounted between Washington and Caracas. Wow. That is sketchy stuff right there, John.
I had this weird call this morning on the hotline. It said Doc Marshall likes Endicott steel. TV anchor.
Oh,
we've got too many inside sources here, I guess.
Oh, that's outstanding. That's outstanding. You make a Wall Street reference, John, you're done for the day. You pack your bags and go home.
Blue Horseshoe loves Endicott steel.
Well done. So I'm going to stick to FanDuel. I don't like this. This is sketchy stuff. And I will say, if the Trump administration has people on the inside who are insider trading on Polymarket, they better sniff that stuff out, man. I mean, I don't care if it's Nancy Pelosi or it's someone on the other side. If you are insider trading based on information you have and connections you have to power, I mean, that is as dirty as it gets, and it's everything that people hate about politicians. So we'll see if this story goes anywhere, but you know what? $400,000 on knowing Maduro's about to get kidnapped. Arrested. I've been watching too much mainstream news here the last 24 hours. Well, that's a little fishy. I'll just leave it at that. 913-408-7957. Good morning. Great to have you here on a Tuesday on KCMO. Well, somebody had a brutal start to their career last night, and the entire world was watching. We'll tell you what happened next. You ever have that brutal first day at the office? Brand new job, you just totally bomb out? Well, that's what happened last night in a viral moment for new CBS evening news anchor Tony DeCopel. So Tony, taking over CBS News, is making some noise because they've taken a different approach. And we played some of the audio last week where Tony came out as he teased the start of his show last night as the new CBS evening news anchor. And he said, hey, I'm going to be for you. I'm not going to be standing here with my bias. I'm not going to cater to the elites. I'm not going to cater to corporate interests. We'll see how it plays out, but it sounded good. Well, last night in his debut, Tony had a moment that's, I think no matter how you feel about CBS, I felt bad for the guy. Maybe it's just because I do this for a living, but he had a teleprompter failure and issue, and here's what it sounded like.
All right, to other news, as you just heard from Jill. Well, to other news now, to Governor Walz. No, we're going to do Mark Kelly.
Oh.
First day, big problems here. Are we going to Kelly here, or are we going to go to Jonah Kaplan? We're doing Mark Kelly, possibly demoted from his retired rank of captain in the Navy.
Now, listen, this happens. I used to watch the evening news on ABC when I was living with my grandmother throughout college and shortly thereafter. So we'd watch ABC, Diane Sawyer, and then it was David Muir, who's permanently got a stick up his backside. But we'd watch them, and I would say half a dozen times a year, this just happens. It's not a big deal. We know what happened. The prompter stopped working, or they got confused, or the person running the prompter had a brain fart. So if you're Tony, though, and this is your big first night, right? The world is watching. Everyone's looking at you. And it's like, well, and then when he says, the only thing I didn't like there is when he said, first day, big problems. It's like, yeah, let's not admit you're having big problems, okay? I mean, if I did that every day, I'd be sitting here saying, boy, John, Mark, we got some big problems here, boys. I mean, things happen when you're doing a live broadcast. It just is what it is. You got to roll with it, man. So that was a tough spot. That clip I saw going viral last night on social media. And then, of course, there were people on the internet who were just eating that up from Tony. Here was the headline from the Daily Beast, a far left-wing online publication. MAGA-coded CBS anchor falls apart in evening news debut. Falls apart in evening. It was 30 seconds. I'm not here to defend the guy. I'm just saying, as someone who does this for a living, that's also why TV people typically don't translate to radio, because they're so used to having that prompter as their crutch. There is no prompter. I'm looking at this notepad here. I'm looking at John and Mark. I've got some scribble that only I can read on my notepad, so I know what I want to talk about. We've got a Google Doc that we share that has all the information for this morning's show in it, guests and topics and things like that. And then we just let it rip. And that's how it goes. That's why it's so much easier when you see people go radio to TV, and you rarely see people go TV to radio. A lot more work, no safety net, no teleprompter, and you got to just let it fly. And that's not typically their expertise. So I'm pulling for Tony. He did have a good moment, though, in the show last night as I watched some of his broadcasts. He was talking about Venezuela, and he was talking about, the value of Venezuela to some of the worst actors on the planet. And here's what he had to say last night in the CBS Evening News.
As you just heard from Jill, we should not expect this to affect gas prices all that much, which does raise the question of how exactly it helps the United States, if it helps the United States at all. What is it actually about? Well, if you zoom out a bit, you can maybe see the outlines of an answer. For decades, Russia, China, and Iran have been building a presence in Venezuela, a base of power and influence in the hemisphere. With Maduro now out, that base of power and influence could be out too.
Russia, China, Iran building influence in Venezuela. We should own this hemisphere. Nobody like Russia, China, and Iran should be doing what they want in Venezuela, basically right to our south, without our approval. And this all ties back to Trump, who, I think back to late last year. The Rob Reiner stuff was so cringy, was so frustrating to me, and I know many of you. And boy, do I wish he would not constantly shoot himself in the foot. I really do. But at some point, you have to look at the actual results and concede that the guy has been incredibly effective as the president of the United States. And arguably exactly the guy that we need right now, even if he isn't the model of presidential decorum. And even if you hate him, if you're being honest, he has been the most influential president since at least Ronald Reagan. And this arrest of Maduro and understanding the value in it beyond just this is a bad guy who's been trafficking drugs to the United States for a long time. Beyond that, this also is a hit to Russia, China, and Iran in a way that protects our national interests in the West. And that's critically important right now. When you look at where the world is, when you look at what the goals are of Russia and China and Iran, and those are arguably, obviously, the three worst actors on the planet. Maybe you want to throw in North Korea and a couple others, but they're right up there at the top when it comes to influence and power on the global stage. And you can't have those guys coming into Venezuela, more or less in our backyard, and destabilizing that country, which results in people flooding our country. And then, you got to deal with this on the back end. Where what are their intended goals by having more influence in Venezuela? All this stuff ties together. And to Trump's credit, he's understanding that. He's willing to call the shots while also saying, at least as of right now, and I hope it stays this way, we are not interested in nation building. We are not doing some large-scale war. And that's also why they put Maduro's number 2 in command. The New York Times reported on this last night that the belief by Rubio and, as a result, Trump is that it's more stabilizing right now to keep the Maduro people in charge than completely, basically wipe them all out and start from scratch. So they're doing this in a smart, efficient, and effective way. Coming up on KCMO Talk Radio, somebody wants to give away World Cup tickets for free. They think everyone should have access. We'll tell you who coming up next. You guys want to try to get to a World Cup game together? What do you say? Come on. I mean, I would go, I guess, if we get the tickets, if we can figure out a way to make it work. I know Mark will go. He's always down for an event. John will have to figure out something to wear, but
yesterday I was wearing my Netherlands hat. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, were you?
So that was my new hat that I got over Christmas break.
Did I not notice?
I don't know. It just had a lion on it, so it's a nice Netherlands soccer hat. They're going to be here in KC.
Very cool. Yeah, I can't keep track of all your hats. Well, right now, if you go to StubHub, looking at Netherlands versus Tunisia, Thursday, June 25th. Your get-in price right now is $326, but most of the lower bowl is pushing $1,000 for tickets.
That's the one I want to go to.
That's the Tunisia?
Netherlands.
Netherlands, yeah. Okay. Well, it's not going to be cheap there, Mark. We'll see if we can make it work for you, big guy, but it's not going to be cheap. Well, the new mayor of New York City, he's really upset about these World Cup ticket prices. You know, not for us here in Kansas City, but of course in New York City. They're not even technically playing games in New York City. They're playing games in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. That's home of the Jets and the Giants. It's going to be basically what we'll have here with the Chiefs, where the Chiefs will play in Kansas, not technically Kansas City. The Jets and Giants play in New Jersey. But the new mayor of New York City, who's like 3 days onto the job, wants to make it clear that he'll do everything in his power to try to figure out how to get World Cup tickets to just give away on the street corner.
What we are seeing, I had a New Yorker the other day come up to me and ask me if there was any way I could help him get World Cup tickets, because he was saying that the cost that he saw for a game was $600, right? This is increasingly out of reach. We have made what used to be a working class game into a luxury experience. And there are too many for whom it doesn't matter where the World Cup is being played in the world. They know where they're going to watch it. It's TV. And we want to ensure that there are more experiences available.
That's the problem with these guys, though. They promised the moon, and now you have people saying, hey, bro, can you get me some World Cup tickets?
Mr. Mamdani opened Pandora's box. Can you get me World Cup tickets? That's classic.
I mean, suddenly he's like, I can't give you everything for free.
Yeah, whoa, hey.
I'll try to give you free groceries, and I'll try to have rent control and maybe get you some free housing, and, we'll do free this, free that. But even he's basically saying, well, free World Cup tickets, that's a stretch for me. I'm not sure I can make that happen. But this is what you get with these guys. You promise everybody everything through the government, and now you got folks bumping into you on the street corner saying, hey, bro, can I get some World Cup tickets there? What do you say?
It's like the high school hustler Mike Damone in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The kid comes up and asks for Blue Oyster Cult tickets. No, I don't have any Blue Oyster Cult tickets. I ate 20 pair last time. Where were you?
And we'll see if Mom Donnie holds to his druthers there, because, he'll be invited probably.
Well, that's the thing, man.
That's right.
You're
Touché.
absolutely right. I mean, he'll be able to get himself there if he wants to. There's no doubt about it. And the finals, I believe, are there in MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So, yeah, that's going to be a very pricey ticket. It's going to be thousands of dollars. Is he going to be hobnobbing in some suite?
Well, is he going to give them to the guy in the corner?
Or is he going to give them to the guy in the corner?
How about that?
Right? I mean, what is he going to do? And that's what puts these Mamdani, Bernie Sanders folks in tough spots. They like the good life. They love the good life. Bernie's got 3 homes. Mamdani's living in Gracie Mansion there in New York City. On a much lesser extent, you have Quentin Lucas here in Kansas City. He's got the private escort service from KCPD. I saw the mayor bragging over the holidays how he's going to be out and about driving his 2013 Toyota Corolla. It's like, you're trying too hard to be one of the guys. Please, the reason you've got a 2013 Corolla or whatever it was, Altima or something like that, the reason you got that is because you never have to drive your own car because you're getting chauffeured around by KCPD. Okay, I wouldn't buy a new car either if I had someone driving me around town. So just pump the brakes on this like everyman stuff. Just for a second. Don't try too hard, okay?
Yeah, you saw that at Carvana there off I-35.
That's right.
Picked out a little something.
Yeah, driving downtown. Is that technically Missouri or is that technically Kansas? Because he can't be buying cars in Kansas. That wouldn't be a good look for him. He's got to buy that car in Missouri. It's got to be right there on state line, that Carvana, right? Either way, speaking of the World Cup here in Kansas City, I saw Fox 4 just did a story on this. The city council is trying to figure out what to do about short-term rentals, right? They want to make it easier for people who want to basically Airbnb their homes to make a little money during the World Cup. Now, you know why they're doing this. They're doing this because and I know one of the storylines coming out of this World Cup is going to be not everybody benefited in ways that we were promised. Now, that is true. But when you have the politicians go out there and say, hey, don't worry, this is going to be great for the city, everyone's going to make a ton of money, then you get like what you got during the NFL draft. The lady who has the sundress store at Crowne Plaza is suddenly very upset that nobody bought sundresses at the NFL draft. Yeah, because that's not the clientele. This is going to happen in the World Cup too. There will be parts of town that see absolutely no benefit from having the World Cup here. So the city's trying to get ahead of this and saying, hey, we're going to be the good guys. They announced about 2-3 weeks ago that the applications for major event short-term rental permits during the World Cup are just $50. That's 75% less than the standard $200 annual fee. The rental period is going to be May 3rd to July 31st. 90-day maximum. And if you have any questions, you can call 816-513-1120. So they're lowering the short-term rental permit fee to allow more people to basically apply to potentially Airbnb their homes. How many people are going to apply for this and are going to be approved for this and then will be basically shut out when it comes to renting out their house? I think there's a lot of people that just assume, I'm going to rent out my house and make a fortune. I don't think so. I think that certain people will, in certain parts of town, will have success. But, the person in Midtown who wants to rent out their apartment for a couple of weeks, who just assumes, the World Cup's here, someone's going to take my place. I'm not so sure about that. I think it's going to be very specific based on where you are in and around Kansas City. I think certain people are going to do great. I think others are going to totally strike out, and they don't realize it's coming. But in the meantime, the city will take your $50 and pocket that gladly. That's what happens when you're running a $100 million shortfall. So I didn't know if you guys had any plans to Airbnb the house. I mean, it's kind of tough for Mark and I to do that with kids. But, John, I didn't know if you had some grand plans for the summer yet. Were you going to Airbnb the house and then, jet set around the world or something like that?
No, I'm just working on stadium parking.
Okay, all right.
Parking in the front yard, that kind of thing.
You're going to do that whole deal. All right.
On the lawn part.
Mark, you've always got some trick up your sleeve. Is there any way you're going to try to make a buck during this World Cup?
I told my brother-in-law he could stay with us for free. That's probably not a good idea. I should probably at least charge him,
I was going to say, make him buy you groceries or something.
No, just put a lock on the refrigerator and stuff. Yeah. A little combo deal.
That's what you do. That's it right there. All right, so this is your brother-in-law?
Yeah, he's a big soccer fan.
I mean, does he have tickets yet, or is he just assuming he's going to come down here and you're going to buy him tickets too after he freeloads off of your groceries?
Yeah, not yet. He doesn't have the tickets yet. We just talked about it over Christmas, and he'd like to see the Netherlands as well, so we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
All right, so he wants to come down and watch some World Cup action with you. So is this your way of indirectly asking me to try to get you World Cup tickets? Is that what you're doing right now?
I figured if I got tickets, it would probably not be tickets. It would just be like, hey, I'm in the media. I don't think my brother-in-law can do that, though, so I'd just be going solo.
Oh, he can help you.
Yeah.
He can. You just need to go down there and stand around in a crowd and have your brother-in-law go, were you on Ted Lasso?
Yeah.
Didn't I see? Dude, YouTube.
I'll get him with Jason. Who? What?
Yeah, wait. When does that come out?
They still haven't announced. They were supposed to wrap up filming on the 30th.
The 30th
of December.
In
England, yeah.
In England. Okay.
So,
for
unknown Kansas City series, of course, yes.
I hope the series comes out before the World Cup. That way everyone knows who you are and you get seen on this unnamed show.
Yes. That's
Mark
supposed
to be
to
on
be
the scoreboard.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the goal. I think they want to release it in, conjunction with the World Cup.
Okay. All right. There you go. Well, you know what? By then you'll be an even bigger star in this town than you are, Mark. Instead of just being the parlay expert, you'll be the Ted Lasso star as well. People will be showering you with World Cup tickets around town.
Soccer expert.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark Van Sickle.
Exactly right. Sometimes people are too quick to want to just cancel something and Bud Light something because it worked like a couple of years back, but pump the brakes on this Hilton Hotels thing. So if you haven't seen this, Hilton Hotels, according to Homeland Security, refused service to Homeland Security law enforcement in Minneapolis. This came yesterday, early afternoon. Officers with the Department of Homeland Security attempted to book rooms using official government emails and rates, and Hilton hotels canceled their reservations because of who they were. Now, Hilton Hotels put out a statement yesterday to Fox News that read, Hilton Hotels serves as a welcoming place for all. This specific hotel in Minneapolis is independently owned and operated, and the actions referenced are not reflective of Hilton values. We are investigating this matter with this individual hotel and can confirm that Hilton works with governments, law enforcement, and community leaders around the world to ensure our properties are open and inviting to everyone. We since have seen here in the last hour or so, Bill Ackman reporting that Hilton Hotels is terminating the franchise effective immediately. The employee also apparently has been let go. So Hilton Hotels has the power to do that at the corporate level, even though this operation in Minneapolis was basically, run by a franchisee. But Hilton Corporate could terminate the hotel owner's franchise if they wanted to. It is currently being investigated, and Bill Ackman reporting here in the last 45 minutes that Hilton Hotels is terminating this franchise effective immediately. And Bill Ackman also reported that the CEO of Hilton Hotels is a guy named Chris Nassetta, and Ackman writes here, he is one of the most outstanding CEOs in the world. I know he is highly respected by President Trump and this current administration. Chris became personally involved in this situation from the moment he became aware of it and has taken immediate action. As a Hilton customer and shareholder, I am comfortable that this situation was handled appropriately and in a timely fashion. So once again, the hotel in Minneapolis that was denying Homeland Security workers was a franchisee, not a Hilton corporate location. Hilton helps market the hotel. They coordinate reservations. They make sure the hotel consistently meets the high standards. That's it. That's their role in this. So I'm not sitting here looking to cancel Hilton. I don't view this story as anything more than a rogue location with a rogue employee deciding they were going to stick it to ICE and stick it to Trump and Kristi Noem and all these people. And now they're paying the ultimate price. So just know everything is not like what you think it is based on a headline on social media, John.
Gee, it happened in Minnesota, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Well, of all places, right? It happened in Minnesota. There you go. Oh, man. How's old Happy Hands Tim Walz doing now that he's not running for re-election? Anyone heard from him yesterday? Did you see the clip? I think I've got it. We don't need it right now, Mark. But I'll play it later in the show. Tim Walz held his press conference yesterday where he announced he's not running for re-election with all these fraud allegations flying all over the place in Minnesota. And I guess he said he was going to take questions, and he just walked away. And the media is like, whoa, dude, you said you were taking questions. What's going on here? It was just a bad look all around for Tim Walz. We got Tirade Tuesday, our first one of 2026, coming up in 10 minutes. Line up and get ready for Tirade Tuesday in 10 minutes here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. So I saw this clip circulating social media last night. It is an old clip of legendary Major League Baseball broadcaster Vin Scully, of course, with the LA Dodgers, talking about socialism and talking specifically about South America and Venezuela. And in the wake of the news this week, here is a legendary clip from Vin Scully as he talks about what a failure the entire system is.
Socialism failing to work as it always does, this time in Venezuela. You talk about giving everybody something free, and all of a sudden there's no food to eat. And who do you think is the richest person in Venezuela? The daughter of Hugo Chavez. Hello. Anyway, 0-2.
Anyway, it's 0-2, and here's the fact. Oh, it's low and outside. That's ball one. Vin Scully. No one did it better when it comes to Major League Baseball broadcasting. And the way that you weave in that storytelling, it reminds me of one of my worst moments ever as a broadcaster. And it was when I was interviewing for the New York Mets pre- and post-game job. This was probably, 12 years ago now. And I get in there with the guy that I grew up listening to, Howie Rose, who's been the voice of that team for going on 35 years now, give or take. And part of the job was not just doing the pre- and post-game. It was also being the backup play-by-play guy. And I had not done a lot of baseball. I had done a lot of basketball. I've done a decent amount of football play-by-play. I had not done at that point a lot of baseball. Still haven't. It's a much different broadcast. It's slower. It's storytelling. It's weaving these things in and out of your game because it's not fast-paced like basketball up and down the court. Football, obviously, same deal. It's really a storytelling broadcast. And the way that Vin Scully did it, obviously, was what made him one of the all-time greats. And I totally bombed out. I mean, I was horrible. I was nervous. I hadn't done a lot of it. I'm sitting next to a guy I grew up listening to. I'm 26 at the time, give or take. And I failed miserably. And it all worked out, obviously, for me in the end. And I could not be happier with how it worked out. But the way that Vin Scully can weave in a story about the failures of socialism and Venezuela into his broadcast in a clip that's gone viral here over the last 12 hours or so is a thing of beauty, an absolute thing of beauty. Now, what's not a thing of beauty is Tim Walz's career arc. That has been an absolute, utter failure. And Tim Walz announced yesterday that he is not seeking re-election as the governor of Minnesota in the wake of what has been a brutal few weeks on the news cycle front, including most recently the alleged daycare fraud that has been happening for years all around that state. And I'm trying to think of worse career trajectories than being a losing vice presidential candidate in the 21st century. Think about some of the names who have been losing vice presidential candidates this century. Joe Lieberman, John Edwards, Sarah Palin, Paul Ryan, Tim Kaine, Mike Pence, and Tim Walz. The only job I think that has a worse career trajectory than that is being the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. That's the only thing I can think of that's worse than being a losing vice presidential candidate. I mean, none of these guys or gals have really done anything. That was kind of their apex. And now you're looking at gigs like this and you're like, boy, you know what? I'd rather be anything but a losing VP candidate. That is an absolute loser of a position when you go back 25 years at this point. Wow, that's a brutal lineup.